for today, brothers and sisters, is entitled The King Alfred Plan. The extermination of blacks in America. One of the things that you should understand, brothers and sisters, before going any further is I want you to, prepare your psyche. Now, this message is not a spiritual one. This message is not a churchianity kind of thing. This message today is to let you know what's going on in our socio-political environment. Does everybody stand with me? So kind of gear your head up for that, all right? And understand that I'm going to share some information with you in this message that's very disturbing. I'm telling you now. It's not meant to depress you. It's meant to make you aware.
Oh no, we are going to vibrate today. Drop nation, come out to play. Man, watch this. Now, love to the King, Ray Hagins, Dr. Ray Hagins. And just check it out. Do your research. He's going to give you the documents. You look documents up. We're going to pull some stuff up. We're going to hear some joints that we dropped back then on the radio, some jewels. We're going to hear from Silas Nehemiah. We're going to hear from Ra Ra the Great. We're going to hear from Political Mike. We got Donnie the sports guy in the house. It's all good, man. Drop Nations in the building, man. That's all y'all need to know. Ray Hagins is about to lay you out with a cold cream turkey. A cold cream uppercut. All right? So dig on it. Let's go.
It's not meant to make you walk out of here feeling like there's no hope. It's meant to make you walk out of here saying, I got to get busy in informing my brothers and sisters what's really going on so that we can prepare ourselves for what is coming. The information that I'm going to share with you, personally, I have researched it along with many of my colleagues, and we found a lot of this information in the United States Library of Congress. A lot of this information has finally been declassified after being held away from the masses or kept back from the masses after many years. Because of the satanic, evil, and clandestine objectives contained in this program called the King Alfred Plan, it is imperative, it's necessary that those people whom God has called to be watchmen and watchwomen on the wall alert the people. There's a passage in the scripture that says, woe unto the watchman that sees danger coming and don't say nothing, because then the blood of the people will be on their hands. But when the watchman on the wall proclaims and cries loud and spares not and lifts up their voice, as the scripture says, as a trumpet in Zion, to show the people what's happening, if the people still fall for it, then the blood is off of the watchman's hands. So today, as the watchman on the wall, it's my duty to inform y'all of some stuff that you might not know about. Do my best, Doc. Let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back approximately 40 years ago. Between the years of 1960 and 1964, an organization called the National Security Council. Have y'all ever heard of that before? I know you have, because we talk about national security memorandums. Well, the National Security Council developed a government program called the King Alfred Plan.
Look it up. Don't depend on anybody for the information. You have to actually do your own research. Your survival depends on your ability to do your own research. The United States of America, King Alfred Plan, codename Rex 84. Now see how far this goes back and tell me if it's play.
This program actually details the arrest, detention, encampment, and extermination of the black and Hispanic or Latino population of this country. No other race of people have had a program written for them but the black, and of course in 1984.
So he's going to say in 1984 it was redone to include the so-called Hispanic, but no other race, meaning since races are not real, no other tribe of people or group of tribes of people have had an actual memorandum written up specifically for them, for their demise. I mean, you want to hear about prophecies? These people are playing prophets for your demise. Listen to it again.
Detention, encampment, and extermination of the black and Hispanic or Latino population of this country. No other race of people have had a program written for them but the black, and of course in 1984 it was amended to include the Hispanic population.
So they weren't concerned about the so-called Hispanic population as far as rounding them up until 1984. So, you know, we're talking about the same wars that were waged on us from the beginning when you research the Chickasaw Wars and the Cherokee Wars and all these original wars, the first wars of this corporation. So this particular legislation was put into place specifically for the first world population, not the second world, the corporation, the first world specifically.
President Reagan, along with the ex-director of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, Louis Goffredo, proposed this amendment in 1984, on April 6th of 1984, and hence you have the additional code name Rex 84. It's important that you understand, brothers and sisters, why this program has been put in place. You need to understand the drastic measures that have been strategically designed for our destruction. Everybody say, policy planning study. Policy planning study. Now you may want to write this down so you can go verify it. For short, it's PPS-23.
Look it up.
Again, notice the name of this. Policy planning. Policy planning study number 23. This took place, brothers and sisters, in February of 1948. I wasn't even born then. February of 1948, a man by the name of George Kennan, Kennon, of the State Department planning staff reported, and I quote him, he said, "The United States must devise a pattern of relationships which will permit them to maintain 50% of the world's wealth." while only having 6% of the world's population.
Bang.
You've heard me talk about national security memorandums. Well, there's another memorandum that I hadn't told y'all about. It's called National Security Memorandum 200. Now, we talked about 46.
Look it up.
Which says blacks must never be allowed to unite in this country. Well, National Security Memorandum 200, write it down, go look it up. National Security Memorandum 200 was written in 1975. Brothers and sisters, I'm not talking about stuff that just happened within the last few years. I'm talking about a program that has been in place for some time here.
War strategies. All you're reading about, all we're going to read about today, all we're going to discuss today are war strategies. And again, you go to the first wars under this corporation against the Chickasaw, against the Cherokee. Look up these treaties and what's going on. These were the same strategies. Nothing is new under the sun. So what we're going to hear and what you're understanding, put yourself back in the mentality of the so-called founders of something that's already founded. And now they have to put in place something to remain in power, even if they have 6% of the population. So how can they make it appear differently? Psychologically, it does something to you if you feel like you're the minority. And you're going to keep hearing minority, minority, minority. Globe, globe, globe. Globaler. Global. They're going.
In 1975, a man by the name of Henry Kissinger. Have y'all ever heard him before? Yeah, he's been kind of recently in the news. In fact, he's one of Bush's boys. Henry Kissinger stated, and I quote him in National Security Memorandum, he says, quote, "A reduction of the rate of population is a matter of vital United States security, since the United States will require large and increasing amounts of materials from abroad, especially from LDCs." LDC is acronym for less developed countries.
So why would the United States require material from less developed countries? And you're going to hear him say what these less developed countries are. India, Africa, they're saying. So according to their version of development, when we know all the technologies, all the drop that's being covered up in all of our indigenous areas. But they're going to call them less developed, and they're going to require these materials. And you got to just understand the flip right there is, why would you need something from a less developed country? You only require to be developed. And so you extract materials from other developed areas that has developed materials that you need. Or else you don't need anything if you are a developed country. Makes sense psychologically. You don't need anything if you are already developed. Only when you're less developed do you need help with your development. So they require materials from less developed countries. Well, you see that's the invasion and colonization and hijack 101.
Matter of vital United States security, since the United States will require large and increasing amounts of materials from abroad, especially from LDCs. LDC is acronym for less developed countries. And of course, LDCs, you know where they call that? India, Africa.
Bang.
That's where they say the less developed countries are. So they're saying that they will take the materials from the LDCs. It goes on to say, and I quote him, that fact gives the United States enhanced interest in the political, economic, and social stability of these supplying countries. Check out what he says, wherever a lessening of population can increase the prospects of such stability, population policy becomes relevant to sources supplied and to the economic interests of the United States
Corporation, the economic interest of the United States Corporation, whenever they can see a situation where they can decrease your population for benefit. You know, like the bro Lex Will kick. Kings to Lex Will, man. Kings to the king. What did he kick? He said, it's not about black or white, it's about land. Resources. Think in terms of land and resource for a second. What would you do if you didn't have it? What do you do? What's the microcosm? They just want your resources. They'll call you anything they need to call you so that you don't call yourself indigenous. Because when you call yourself indigenous, you look for your natural resources because they belong to you by the Most High's divine lot, your order. No one wants to think in terms of divine order and lot. They just want to take and steal and rob and murder and mutilate. And this is what we're getting at. Let's get a little bit more of this. I advise everybody to watch all of it. But we're going to go ourselves into the King Alfred's plan. Let's get a couple more minutes.
You want to know who the terrorist is in this world? The United States government. They have been for some time, brothers and sisters. Ex-President James Earl Carter, y'all call him Jimmy Carter, fanned the flames of this program when he issued a directive to Congress on May 23rd, 1977. President Carter ordered that a 3-year study on how to reduce the world's population be implemented. This program or study was called Global 2000, the report to the president. I quote from the Global 2000 report. Here's what it says, quote, that there will be zero population growth for the whites on earth by the year 2000. Did y'all hear what I said?
Did y'all hear what he said? Why is it so important to get your resources? When you get into a negative birth rate, anybody who is developing is your enemy because you're not developing. You have a negative birth rate. So you scrounge for your resources and you do everything. You bomb them. You mutilate. You spray your bombs of metals and barium and desiccated blood cells. Yeah, that's in that powder they're spraying, the fake clouds. They'll do anything. Planned Parenthood, vaccinate. Man, you don't think you're at war? It's a frequency war. Frequency has materialized. Listen with your eyes.
Study on how to reduce the world's population be implemented. This program or study was called Global 2000.
Global.
The report to the president. I quote from the Global 2000 report. Here's what it says. Quote, that there will be zero population growth for the whites on earth by the year 2000. Did y'all hear what I said? Their study said if we don't do something, there will be zero population growth for white folk by the year 2000. It goes on to say, and in order to preserve the survival of the white race, lands which contain resources that the United States needs must be freed of its population.
Whoa.
Brothers and sisters, it's out there in documents, but we are so churchified, we don't know what's going on. In other words, y'all, they were trying to get you to understand. According to their projections, by the year 2000, which was 2 years ago, there was approximately 6.35 billion people on this planet. How many did I just say? 6.35 billion people on this planet. Approximately 5.2 billion were people of color. Y'all hearing this? In less developed countries. The Global 2000 program goes on to state, water will be polluted in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and North Africa to destroy the coastal fisheries. The, quote, desertification unit. In fact, they had what was called the United Nations Desertification Conference in 1977.
Look it up.
The desertification unit will destroy woodlands in the Sahel region in Africa below the Sahara Desert to increase, check this out now, to increase the destruction of topsoil. Are y'all hearing this? See, y'all, the land is so rich in Africa. You don't have to plant seeds. All you got to do is drop them. And they'll fertilize and take root and grow. So their program is to implement techniques that would destroy the topsoil and promote desert conditions.
Now, as he said, Africa, 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 think about your deserts here. And think about what they might have done to the same topsoil of your fertile lands. We have documents saying that our trees, man, a squirrel could go from tree to tree, man, without ever touching the ground, from Canada to Mexico. It was so fertile, so many trees, so much vegetation. What did they do to you here? You know, we're trying to get the whole truth, man. Kings to the Dr. Ray Hagins.
The people goes on to say, the people will have to resort to cow dung and field residue for fuel. Goes on to say another part of the report, fertility rates will be severely reduced. Doesn't say how, though. It just says fertility rates will be severely reduced. Price of food will increase 95%. And Central Africa's food consumption will drop to 20% below the Food and Agriculture Organization standard for survival. Oh, this is really deep. And every $1 increase in the gross national product for less developed countries, for every $1, there will be $20 increase for North America, Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and Canada. Now, this really blew my mind, y'all, when I was doing this research. It went on to say, weather, not W-H-E-T-H-E-R, W-E-A-T-H-E-R, the weather, like outside. The weather will be manipulated to affect production and demand of food exported from other countries. Now, you know that's deep. when they've actually developed the technology to cause weather control.
Geoengineering. Is that not what we're talking about with the chemtrails? Look up in your sky. Are those clouds real or fake? Every time I want to walk with my babies, I look up and say, oh, those are the bad man's clouds. The children know. The children know which clouds are real and fake. Right, Dougie? Say, I know. All right, I'm going to put it back to sleep. Y'all check a few more minutes, and let's get into it.
Brothers and sisters, look at the person next to you and say, we really need to open our eyes. The report also stated that although the needs of Latin America and Africa could be met, hear this, although the needs of Latin America and Africa could be met in one generation's time, the United States opted for world model number 3, which calls for, now check, this is world model number 3. This is plans that's already in place. World model number 3, which calls for massive famine in Asia and non-OPEC Africa. OPEC is oil producing, exporting countries. So if it's a country in Africa that really ain't into the oil thing, mass famine will be induced in that country. Think about this, brothers and sisters. 80% of the products currently used in the United States are taken as raw materials from non-white countries. Did y'all hear what I said? 80% of the products that's used by this country is taken out of non-white countries. Now you understand, I hope you do, why there's so much rampant starvation and poverty in so-called third world countries, especially our motherland. When I see them showing little children on television who are starving to death, this is all a part of their program. They create the crisis, they implement the starvation, then show it to you on television, and you send them your money to further finance their program. Ooh, buddy. Let's get back to the King Alfred plan, since you now understand why. You see, brothers and sisters, the point is almost here. Mark my word. The point is almost here that the plans of our lily-white government to incite rioting and revolution among blacks and other people of color in the world, the point is almost here where the President of the United States will issue his order for the emergency. The King Alfred plan. You have it in your hands. Let's look at it right quick. Let's see what's going to happen here. They didn't write this, brothers and sisters, without a plan to make it happen. Let me say that one more time. They did not go through the trouble of writing this without a plan to pull it off. The King Alfred plan, the United States of America King Alfred plan, codenamed Rex 84. Here's what it says, and I'm going to read quickly. In the event of widespread and continuing and coordinated racial disturbances in the United States, King Alfred, at the discretion of the president, underline that, and then look at the person next and say, this is why no black man can be the president. You got to understand, people, this program was written for black people. They ain't Hey, listen, I don't know. What's Secretary of State's name? Colin Powell. I don't know. He seems to be a little disgruntled, but when you got people like that supporting the white agenda, you know, it makes you wonder. They might be able to put somebody who looks black in the Oval Office. It says, at the discretion of the president, King Alfred is to be put into action when? In other words, when the president of the United States, not Congress, not the House, not the Senate, not the House of Representatives, not the Senate, when the president declares this emergency, it's to be implemented immediately. Participating federal agencies, what are they? National Security Council. What else? Central Intelligence Agency. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Department of Justice. Department of Defense. Department of Interior. Participating state agencies, what are they? National Guard units. State police. Participating local agencies are what? City police and county police, that's right. Now, one of the things you need to understand, brothers, let me make this notation before we read further. In addition to the law enforcement agencies that we just mentioned, in 1982, there was a guy named Oliver North. Y'all have heard of him, right? Oliver North and Ronald Reagan got together, and the two of them amended the King Alfred Plan. And their amendment became known as Rex 84 because it was signed by Ronald Reagan in 1984. Now, the original plan was signed by Lyndon Baines Johnson, but Ronald Reagan amended it to include the Hispanic population. Originally, it was, what we're going to read, it was just written for blacks. But in 1984, Oliver North and Ronald Reagan amended it to include the Hispanic and Latino population. What's really deep, brothers and sisters, is this. The neo-Nazi groups, this is all a part of the amendment in 1984. The neo-Nazi groups in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, along with state militia groups, like the Missouri militia, the Michigan militia, the Minnesota militia, all of these white paramilitary groups that have their training grounds out in the woods and stuff that y'all, I'm sure y'all know about that, right? I hope you know about that. Well, the amendment in 1984 was written to include them automatically being deputized when the president declares the emergency. And all of these other groups will be deputized by the federal government to round up blacks and Hispanics.
So what does that mean? That means all those groups that you see in the protests saying that we just marching for guns and yada, 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 everybody will be deputized in this particular legislation, Rex 84. You look it up. King Alfred's plan, you look it up. And you got everything being deputized. You got everybody saying, oh, okay, now you're suddenly covered under this umbrella. All right? I mean, that's just a little into it. I went in deeper than I wanted to, but I have to. We almost got halfway through it. So you guys, you have to go, put your family, everybody around you, and you have to look this up. Come over to the drop. That's all you got to do. 432thedrop.com. All right, you can vibe to the soul R&B Ebony Eyes Suite as you support my man Jay Stu and his lovely Camellia and all the family, man, that's rocking, ready to, make that next step. How do we take it? What do we do? All right. So yeah, go, man, vibrate. And we're gonna get some more. I just wanted to start there. And I put it like this, man. You can go to the site right now, Assata Shakur.org. If you don't know Assata Shakur, you better ask somebody. But this is a site, a blog, AssataShakur.com. And, pretty much lays out the information of the King Alfred's plan. We're going to get some out of here. You know, I got some more I want to get from another site right here, angelfire.com. You know, I'm just looking for whoever has printed out some drop. Blacks to be exterminated, Ashkenaz style. You already know what time that is. Ain't nothing new under the sun. Ashkenazi style, Nazi style, Ashkenazi style, Nazi style, NASA, NASA, Nazi style. Blacks to be exterminated. Alright. And then we're going to get into the radio, the drop radio. And thank you, everybody, man, who's been surfing the wave since we've been rocking just the radio platform. Y'all come to this, man. Go to the show archives on the drop. Right here, you got the show archives. Go into it, man, and just get some of this drop. And it's been a challenge, man, getting everything back like we wanted. You know what I'm saying? Without making too many zigzags. But, you know, so much, all these drops are at least 5 hours long. So this is not like any 20-minute drops. 5 hours. Love to Professor Spirit. He had multiple interviews. Support Spirit Speaks, being mucus free. Support Divine Prospect, man, the Minority Report. Alright. The endocannabinoid system, understand about the concentrations of CB1 and CB2 receptors, what's already in your body carrying this cannabism. How there are receptors already in your body, transport systems, very smart systems, understanding how to transport what part of your body is in pain, what part of your body needs help with this or help with this, these herbs, these plants. Don't let somebody else give you a perspective. Alright, and you know this is about that season again, the Samaim. I might just play this for y'all right around that season. This is going to be a very wicked one. Alright, so we're going to get some of this King Alfred's plan. We're going to do it right. Do everything the right way. But first, we're getting right into our there we go. Asada Shakur. In the event. Now this is the same doc that brother Ray Higgins was kicking. And we're gonna get deeper. But let's just get some. In the event of widespread. Wait, let me make sure I got everything up on one. Make sure I got everything up on one. Because everyone has different information. So we want to make sure we got it all. Okay, same one here. All right. One more thing. All right, cool. I was looking for this one doc. Thanks for your patience, man. I know how that is. But, yeah, man, I had this one doc open that, might just have to get it from scratch. 1 second. Okay, so, yeah, thank you for your patience. We got it. I wanted to make sure I had the drop on the countdown. So let's get it from here. Memo, National Security Council. So we're talking about the National Security Council. In the event of widespread and continuing and coordinated racial disturbances in the United States, King Alfred, at the discretion of the President, is to be put into action immediately. So this particular plan, these are the agencies participating. Participating federal agencies, all right? So you see all this list, all the big dogs, participating state agencies. So let's get it down. Here's the regions. This is how they divided us. This is how they broke us down. Capital region, Northeast, Southeast, Great Lakes region, South Central region, Deep South region 2, Great Plains, Rocky Mountain region, Southwest region, West Coast region. Okay, now this is back then, right? So he said this has been going back from the 40s. It was redone in the Reagan administration, Rex 84. There are 12 major minority organizations, which we know these are not minority people. They are majority people. And all are familiar to the 22 million. So this is information containing, it says, all organizations and their leaders are under constant 24/7 surveillance. The organizations are the Black Muslims. This is crazy, man, when you look at all this. So you see all the Black Muslims, State Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, Congress of Racial Equality, Yoruhu Movement, Group on Advanced Leadership, Goal, Freedom Now Party, you know, all the Black Panther stuff, United Black Nationalists of America, the New Pan-African Movement, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, the National Urban League, National Association for Advancement, you know, NAACP, Committee on Racial and Religious Pride. So all the big dogs stand. You know it's been updated, and you know it's been updated, and you know it's been updated. So just use your imagination on what this covers today. At the appropriate time to be designated by the President, y'all pull up this document. These are just different sites that have it. Angel Fire has their own, showing you the same thing with the region, state level, federal level, all the same regions here. They all have different versions of the same documentation. This is Sada Shakur. She has the same thing. Look at her regions. So West Coast, you know what I'm saying? Arizona, California, Hawaii, Nevada, regional capital, San Francisco. They have this right here. It's region number 9. Is this play? Where's your region? These are federal regions. When we say go home to your sacred trees, we're saying get out of these grids. Get out of these regions. Get out of these federal regions. Because your federal region is being rolled up on. You've seen the tanks coming in. At the appropriate time to be designated by the president, the leaders of some of these organizations are to be detained only when it is clear that they cannot prevent the emergency. So the leaders of these organizations are to be detained when it is clear that they cannot prevent the emergency. So your Al Sharptons and all these other people coming in, they're only important when they can prevent the emergency. When it is clear, only when it is clear that they cannot prevent the emergency, they are what? To be detained at the appropriate time by the designation of the president. The leaders of some of these organizations are to be detained only when it is clear that they cannot prevent the emergency. So which means the first thing they're going to do is they're going to send out your leaders to calm you down, to pacify you, to put the pacifier in your mouth. Now, that's when you are going berserko in the cities. What we are saying in Drop Nation, what Lex Will started and gave us, you know what I'm saying, the hijack-free version of what is going on. We understood and said, okay, we are indigenous. We are from here. This is the hijack. And from that, what you do from this point on, as real as you make it, is as real as you make it, and is as real as it gets. When it is clear that they cannot prevent the emergency, working with the local public officials during the first critical hours, all leaders are to be detained at once. All leaders are to be detained at once. What do they do? What did they do? They detained your tribal leaders at once when they invaded you. Nothing is new. They detained your chiefs, leaders, at once when they invaded you. So what do they say again they're going to do? All other leaders are to be detained at once. Leaders, get their priests, get their chiefs. Compiled list of minority leaders have been readied at the National Data Computer Center. Do you know about this National Data Computer Center? Do you know about your National Data Computer Center near you? This plan was put in effect starting in the 40s and has been remixed over and over again. It's a matter of when. It is necessary to use the minority leaders designated by the president in much the same manner in which we use minority members who are agents with central and federal. Look, is this play? Is this a game? Is this a hoax? Which one? Which version of it? Was it a hoax in 1946, 48, 60, 70? Which version is a hoax to you? Which version does not correlate with what you see on TV and what's being pulled in some imaginal force of gravity all into one place for one kaboom? It is necessary to use the minority leaders, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, designated by the president, in much the same manner in which we use minority members who are agents with central and federal agencies, right? And we cannot, until there is no alternative, reveal King Alfred's plan in all its aspects. So they're waiting. This is their final, you know what I mean? This is the kaboom, King Alfred's plan. You heard it here. You heard it from Ray Hagan. Minority members of Congress will be unseated at once. So any so-called black folk that are in office anywhere are going to be unseated at once. And wait till you see what they do with the so-called black men and women in the military. This move is not without precedent in American history. This move is not without precedent in American history. Precedent. 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 Early 15th century, what a surprise. Everything's around these 1400s, 1200s. Case which may be taken as a rule in similar cases. So this is something that can be taken as a rule in similar cases. What similar case have they had to round you up before? Could it be Cortez, Columbus, De Soto? Get it? Case which may be taken as a rule, man. This ain't no joke. This is a rule of thumb. This is what they do. Now, if you think it's play, that this move is not a rule of thumb in war against you here, Negro Indian. This move is not without precedent, rule of thumb, in American history. Look, you go get the document and you dig it up and you dig on it and you tell me if it's play. Did this person on this website make this up? Did Asada Shakur make this up on her site? Did these people at Angel Fire make up this in their regions? Huh? Reagan deactivated 78 additional military bases to be used as camps in the near future. And this was in June of 1988. George Bush Sr. proposed that military bases be turned into prisons? Nigga! I guess you forgot that the King Alfred's death camps fall under the authorization of Executive Order 11490. 11490. Executive Order 11490. Look it up, October 30th, 1969. Look up Executive Order 9066, February 1942, when Japanese Americans were sent to 10 concentration camps. This stuff is repeating shit. Are they playing you? Yo, minority members of Congress will be unseated at once. This move is not without precedent. Case which may be taken as a rule in similar cases. This move is not without precedent. A case which may be taken as a rule in similar cases in American history. Nigga. Niggas. And remember, just remember how they flip everything on you, huh? The joke's on you, niggas. Title of the ruler of Abyssinia. 1590s from Amharic, Negush. So in Amharic, it means king. 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 This move is not without precedent as a rule of thumb of how to take out the kings, the royalty in American history. Check it out. Attorney General, preliminary memo, Department of Defense. This memo is being submitted in lieu of a final report from the Joint Chief of Staff. Joint Chief of Staff. This memo is being submitted in lieu of a full report from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That report is now in preparation. There will be many cities where the minority niggas, kings, queens, will be able to put into the street a superior number of people. So they're saying at some point these niggas, these kings, this royalty, these Adamites, Adam, at some point, you will be able to do what? You'll be able to put into the street a superior number of people with a desperate and dangerous will. So they saying, man, these Indians gonna go Indian again. The indigenous, they're gonna go indigenous again. Remember, the number one thing they're afraid of is tribes. the indigenous, he will be a formidable enemy. A formidable enemy. I don't know if I can find this in the flash, but let's see. Let's just put in Negro. A formidable. I don't know how to spell it, but let's go. Formidable enemy. I think Grant said this, man. I think Grant said this. I'm going out on a whim here. Let's see what happens. The Papers of Ulysses S. Grant. You know, I'm just surfing away. What about you? Justice to the Indian. I ain't never even heard of this. I just typed Negro formidable enemy Grant, and we found another great document apparently documenting the phrenological journal, Science and Health. What? A proposition, justice to the Indian. Who's the Indian? Niggas. A proposition was made in Congress. Let's get it bigger. A proposition was made in Congress not long since to admit the Indian to representation in that legislative body. In other words, to grant him the privileges of citizenship. The Negro? No, the Indian. 1878. In 1878, the Negro was called Indian. And now the Indian seems like something else. Fighting for pipelines? Negro, you are the Indian. Justice to the Indian. 1878. Dig on this doc. I'll leave this in the link for show. Here, if you know what I mean. We are emphatically in favor of it. Why not? The Negro has been given the ballot. And he is not superior in mental capability. Oh. The Negro has been given the ballot, and he is not superior in mental capability and physical energy to the Indian. Let's keep reading. Indeed, our military commanders have found him a formidable enemy. The Negro has been given a ballot, and he is not superior in mental incapability and physical energy to the Indian. In other words, saying, you the same shit. Now, even if they're trying to put this on a diss track, even if they're trying to hijack you with play, you hear and you see what they're saying. Because at the end of the day, it's about the Negro. I mean, why would justice to the Indian have anything to do with Negro? The Negro has been given the ballot, and he is not superior in mental capability and physical energy to the Indian. Indeed, our military commanders have found him a formidable enemy, skilled in the practices of war. Can y'all please pull this up? Can you see how they're playing with your ass? They're trying to say like, oh, it's two different things, Negro and then Indian, but then all they're talking about is Negroes and how you're skilled at war and how their military commanders of the United States Corporation. Remember, I typed in Grant, Ulysses Grant. And they're calling you a formidable enemy skilled in the practices of war. Now what are you skilled at, Negro? Niggas? King? Skilled in talking shit? Skilled in breaking down your brother? Skilled in not honoring your mother? Your queen? Your children? Your land? You don't care about your trees? Your trees fought with you. Niggas. King. Queen. Without your tree, you got no oxygen. Without no oxygen, you got no size and you got no power. So what are you going to do? Vibrate. Be a formidable enemy. If you're going to be an enemy anyway, be formidable. Right? I mean, if you're going to be an enemy anyway, if you're going to get gunned down in the streets and formidable, you know how he's formidable. Shit. Y'all just catching me in a spelling frenzy. Formidable. 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 Alright, shit. That wasn't on my second grade spelling bee. Formidable. Alright. Mid 15th century again. Damn, 1400s. Causing fear. Causing fear. Wow, I didn't know formidable meant you caused fear. You scared them the fuck to death. Formidable. Causing fear. Terrible. To fear. Fearfulness. Fear. Terror. Dread. Sense has softened somewhat over time in a direction of so great in strength, size, as to discourage effort. Fear. So over time, they made it look like, no. It just means that, you know, you're strong. We'll give you that. You're pretty strong, right? Formidable means fear. You scare them shitless. There will be many cities where these niggas will be able to put into the street a superior number of people with a desperate and dangerous will. These niggas will be a formidable enemy. They will cause us fear, fearfulness, fear, terror, and dread. He will be a formidable enemy, for he is bound to the continent by heritage. Whoa. Negro, Negro, Negro. Wait. Y'all didn't see that coming? We're just reading in the King Alfred's plan. This has been around since what? The 40s and 50s and 60s? They're calling you a formidable enemy. That you cause them fear because you have a superior number of people. That you are bound, for he is bound to the continent. Which continent is the Negro minority bound? I mean, how can you be a minority and put a superior number of people in the street? Have you thought about that? How can you be a minority, according to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Department of Defense? How can you be a minority and put a superior number of people in the street? He will be a formidable enemy. He will cause us fear. Fearful, fear, terror, dread. Let's get this again. Indeed, our military commanders have found him a formidable enemy, skilled in the practices of war. Let's get it even bigger. Skilled in the practices of war. Indeed, our commanders have found him a formidable enemy. When you research the corporation, the war is here against the Cherokee, all the indigenous folks. That's what they're talking about. From experience, they're saying that you are a formidable enemy. You cause them fear, skilled in the practices of war. Our missionaries testify to his ready susceptibility to intellectual and moral teaching. So they feel like you're susceptible because of this spirit of stupor. The Most High put a spirit of stupor on you, right? He made you stupid without your trees. You are stupid without your oxygen, right? So you are intellectually and morally susceptible without your oxygen, without your vibration. And humane agents and travelers furnish evidence in behalf of his integrity and trustworthiness. So although they have some type of spells and witchcraft, they're saying that you are susceptible to their charm school, their grammar school, their witchcraft. And yet their agents and travelers also say that you are people of integrity and trustworthiness. Those tribes or remnant of tribes like the Cymatics, wait, who are we talking about? The Negro. Wait, we're talking about justice to the Indian. Wait, he just said the Negro has been given a ballot, but he is not superior mentally capable, superior in mental capability and physical energy to the Indian. So they separate you here, then they bring you up, but now they're saying, but you are indeed formidable enemy. And in case you didn't know, we're only talking about what? We're only talking about what? Huh? The militant Negro, the minority, the deep South. We're talking about you. If you don't know, we're talking about you by now. Right? If you don't understand that since the Korean War, this department has shifted minority members of the Air Forces to areas where combat is most likely to occur. To my brothers and sisters in the military, if you don't hear from nowhere else, man, just hear from the drop, because the drop loves you. Since the Korean War, this department, Department of Defense, Department of Interior, has shifted minority members, members, all the niggas of the armed forces to areas where combat is most likely to occur. Why? With the aim of eliminating through combat as many combat-trained military servicemen as possible, and women. With the aim of eliminating through combat as many combat-trained military servicemen and women as possible. Today, the ratio of minority member combat deaths in Vietnam, where they are serving as advisors, is twice as high as the minority population ratio to the rest of America. We ain't even got into this yet. We ain't even get started yet. I'm just, leading you to the water here, man. So, if it breaks your heart, tears your heart out, wait till you dig on this. So we already just got this. Wait, let me just get one more part of this, man. This is amazing. Because I didn't think I could, I wasn't expecting this documentation. This is crazy. So this formidable enemy, these niggas, right? Indeed, our military commanders have found him, the Negro, a formidable enemy, skilled in the practices of war. Our missionaries testified to his ready susceptibility to intellectual and moral teaching, their witchcraft, their Christus, their Christ they brought. That's their teaching, their excellent new tune over our ancient love song, and humane agents and travelers furnish evidence in behalf of his integrity and trustworthiness. Those tribes of Negroes, or remnant of tribes of these Negroes, of course, we're only just talking about the Negro, so don't play. We're only talking about the justice to the Negro, niggas, don't play. Senecas, Cherokee, Seminole, Chippewa, etc. They have been placed on lands and organized into agricultural communities, have accomplished results with compare favorability with those of the average American farmer in the West. A report lately made to the Society of Friends of Philadelphia concerning the state of Iowas of the Missouri, under the management of the committee appointed by the society, show that the Iowas are an industrial, agricultural people whose manner of living and farming compares favorably with that of many of the surrounding settlers. They live in houses furnished in a manner similar to those of the whites. Oh, man. Y'all can keep digging on it, man. Let's get back to it. I'll put that link up for y'all, because I know it goes in. But I don't want to get off this King Alfred's plan. So, you're a formidable enemy, for he is bound to the continent by heritage and knows the political asylum would not be available to him in other countries, unless he declares himself as a prisoner of war, not a minority or a black or an African American title owned by the corporation. As a prisoner of war, you get asylum. As a negro or a black or an African American, you are nothing. You're a made-up illusion. You're a title. You're a prisoner of war according to the Geneva Convention, right? The Geneva Code. You're written in as a prisoner of war. They took all your tribes again. That's why they are changing the birth certificates. You can't even trace your Negro. Everything gotta be this African American, African Jesse Jackson, 1970-something roots situation. It's all about taking your land. It's all about subjugating the people with the power. The greatest concentration of so-called minority is in the Deep South, the Eastern Seaboard, the Great Lakes region, and the West Coast. While the national population extends that of the minority by more than 10 times, we must realistically take into account the following. 1, an estimated 40% to 50% of the white population will not, for various reasons, engage the minority during an emergency. This is what they're saying. 2, American armed forces are spread out around the world to break out of war. Abroad means fewer troops at home to handle the emergency. You see that happening. 3, local law enforcement officials must contain the emergency until help arrives. Again, they said that you're going to take it over with a superior number of people, Negro. They also said, Negro, that you are bound to this continent. You are bound to the Americas by your heritage. They didn't say you're bound to Africa. They say you're bound here by heritage. They didn't say you're bound here because you were just brought here. They said you're bound here by heritage. Do we have to do the etymology on heritage and indigenous? 3, local law enforcement officers must contain the emergency until help arrives. What help? The army, right? Though it may mean fighting a superior force, a formidable force, a force that causes them fear, fearfulness, fear, terror, and dread. Superior force. New York City, for example, has 25,000 man police force. It's probably more now, but there are about 1 million minority members in the city. It's probably more now because they're not the minority. We are confident that every time I see minority, since they're trying to brainwash us, we're going to say Negro. All right. We are confident that the Negro would hold any city it took for only a few hours. The lack of weapons, facility, and logistics all put the Negro at the final disadvantage. Since the Korean War Department has shifted the Negro members of the armed forces to areas where combat is most likely to occur, with the aim of eliminating through combat as many combat-trained military servicemen, Negroes, as possible. Today, the ratio of Negro member combat deaths in Vietnam, where they are serving as advisors, is twice as high as the Negro population ratio to the rest of America. Now listen up. Below is the timetable for the King Alfred's plan. Listen up. Here's their timetable. Here's their war strategy. Of course, it has varied and changed in different ways, but I guarantee this is the concrete, not the abstract. Even if somebody just made this shit up in 1940-something, oh boy, you know this shit ain't too far off when you hear it right here. Below is the timetable for King Alfred's Plan Rex 84, as tentatively suggested by the JCS Joint Chiefs of Staff, right, who recommend that the operation be made over a period of 8 hours. All they saying is it's going to take is 8 hours to get you, Negro, but you're a formidable enemy. You cause them fear, man. Fearfulness, dread, and terror, right? All it's going to take is 8 hours. Nah, we don't ever advocate just going in a chaotic fashion in the streets. We advocate going home. You know, the Most High is with you wherever you are, but go home, try. Vibrate and be a tribe again. I mean, if they're going to do this anyway, at least, you know, at least know a couple things. At least have a vibration. At least just don't be surrounded by concrete walls and cell phone towers. I mean, talking to Jay Stu, every time I talk to him, he's just opening another door. You have other doors to open. But here's the door that they want to open on you, and it's going to take 8 hours. Number 1, local police and minority or Negro leaders in action to head off the emergency. So they're going to try to meet it head on. Local police and Negro leaders, all right? Sharpton, Jesse Jack, all these people, any leader you think is leading you now in the, you know, political rim, any politic, anything connected to these politics in action, they're going to use them first to head off the emergency. Now, it's only going to take 8 hours. So buckle up. First, they're going to send people that look like you to pacify you, minority leaders, Negro leaders. 2, countdown to 8 hours begins at the moment the president determines the emergency to be A, national, B, coordinated, C, a long duration. Any of those things. You understand? It could be a national, any emergency, weather, health emergency, Ebola, you know, whatever threats they're saying, domestic situations. It could be any of this stuff. Whatever they say or whatever they cause. Then your countdown begins at the moment the president determines that this is happening on a national, coordinated, and long duration. 3, county police join local police in the 7th hour. We're counting down. 8, 7, it's time to round up the Negro. 8, 7th hour, county police join local police. 4, state police join county police and local police in the 6th hour. 8, 7, 6, rounding up the Negro. State police join local police. State police join county and local police. 5, federal marshals join state, county, and local forces. Do you think this is play? Does the King Trayvon Martin think it's play? Kings, man, rest in power. All the fallen kings, man, and queens. So, all right, state police join county and local police in the 6th hour. Federal marshals join state, county, and local forces in the 5th hour. National Guards federalized, held in readiness in the 4th hour. Regular armed forces alerted, take up positions, minority troops divided and detained, along with all white sympathy. Man, do y'all? My brothers and sisters in the military. Regular armed forces alerted, take up positions. Negro troops divided and detained, along with all white sympathizers to the Negro, or Hebrew, or Israelite, under guard. Why did Columbus bring Hebrew interpreters? To conquer you, because he was conquering the holy city. Who was protecting it? You, the Negro. You were protecting the holy city here. What are they rounding up at the very end? Again, they're coming again for the Most High's people. To round them all up. This is your Jacob's trouble. Regular armed forces alerted, take up positions. Negro troops divided and detained along with all white sympathizers under guard in the third hour. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. All Negro leaders, national and local, are detained in the second hour. So no matter what you did for them, Negro leaders, politicians, they're going to detain you anyway. And this is in there. This stuff goes back to the 40s, 50s, and 60s. What do you think it is now in 2016? They use you against us until you're all used up. They use you against us, Negro leaders, until it is absolutely certain. And I mean absolutely certain that you cannot prevent the emergency. Once they know you can't stop the uprising of the Most High's children, being tired of the slaughter, and for those that, for whatever reason, didn't or couldn't make it out of the cities and the grids, they're going to use them to try to pacify us. Only when it is clear they cannot prevent the emergency, they will be what? At the appropriate time to be designated by the president, the leaders of some of these organizations are to be detained. Compiled list of all Negro leaders have been readied at the National Data Computer Center. So in the third hour, all regular armed forces are going to be detained. All right, divided and detained in the third hour. In the second hour, all Negro leaders, national and local, are detained. Then what happens? President who? Who do you think addresses all Negroes on television and radio? Not everybody, just the Negro, because it's war again against the Negro, because the war never stopped against the Negro. That is not the minority. Why would the minority have superior forces? President addresses Negroes on radio and television, gives it 1 hour to end the emergency. Negroes, you have 1 hour before you force our hand. When they executed their plan perfectly, from the 8th hour to the 1st hour, they say, "Niggas, stop, niggas, before you force our hand." After they declared the emergency that they begin, all units under regional commands into the emergency. 0 hour. 0 hour. And this is when they start getting down and dirty. This is when it starts getting down and trill. And this is when we're talking about all of your regions, how you round it up from the north to the west. Let's just get this one part. In addition to the above so-called enforcement, 1982, Oliver North and Reagan, Rex 84, added an amendment to King Alfred entitled Rex 84, signed into law 1984, which provides the Latinos be included in the extermination. Again, it wasn't to 84 that they considered including the Latinos. So it was only about the Negro up until 1984. And that the neo-Nazi groups in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi be federally funded. So they want to fund Nazis under this Rex 84. Funded and trained so that when the president-to-be declares the national crisis, Who's going to do it? Which president? Declares a national crisis. These groups will be immediately deputized. Immediately deputized who? Neo-Nazi groups. They will be immediately deputized by the president to assist law enforcement in roundup and incarcerations and encampment into the what? The FEMA camps. So when you understand these executive orders, you can go all the way down to G7, all this stuff, the MJ-12. I mean, how low does it go? How real is it? I am giving you this information because I love my people. God speaks to us in Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge and because they do not acknowledge me. All right? And then it goes into the hijack, 5:7, you know. Have nothing to do with the fruitfulness deed of darkness, but rather expose them. So this person's exposing what they want to expose. And they're telling you what it is. All right. There are many preliminary programs being instituted, such as Oliver North's Operation Night Train and the Black Program. That's another one to research. And while we contemplate King Alfred's, Canada, France, and Russia, now unified, and the U.S. military labs have already begun systematic elimination of us and, they say, Asians. Using germ warfare, AIDS, and other manufactured retroviruses, NutraSweet, micro implants for prisoners and infants, Norplant, and melanin-specific fungi and bacteria. Fungi and bacteria specific to melanin, man. Can't make this shit up. You research this drop, man. All the FEMA camps. All right, now you want to know where you will be vacationing. The current extermination camps are as follow. Here's your extermination camps. Fort Drum, Watertown, New York. Fort Indian Down Gap, Pennsylvania. Camp A.P. Hill, Virginia. Fort Benning, Columbus, Georgia. Fort Stewart, Hinesville, Georgia. Man, the list goes on. These are extermination camps that they had listed down, man, 30 years ago. Oakdale, California. Fort Huachuca, Sierra Vista, Arizona. Fort Chaffee, Arkansas. Batwood, Pennsylvania. Florence, Arizona. Vicksburg, Arizona. El Rio, Oklahoma. Tule Lake, California. Maxwell Air Force Base, Montgomery, Alabama. Camp Crome Detention Center in Florida. Haitians are now being held there, they say. This was in 1991. Is this play? Alderson, West Virginia. Greenville, South Carolina. Fort Jackson, Columbia. Avon Lake Air Force Base, Range, California. How many California ones are there, man? El Mundorf Air Force Base, Arkansas. Man, that was just then. It's this play. All right, man. All right. We make our little dismount, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's get a little bit of this radio segment. Where we kind of got into it, man. I can't wait to get it back. We're going to do it right. This is always going to be, as far as we can make it, man, a communication zone for all of us to get together, man. And pretty soon, again, we'll be coming directly out of here, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So let's keep surfing the wave, man. I love all y'all in Drop Nation. Let's get some of this. I'm going to skip around a little bit. Don't get dropped off. King's Takari Durkins, man. This joint atmosphere is crazy. The Drop Radio. Welcome everybody to this frequency. I know you have a choice in how you fly. Big with it. This King Corey Durkins joined us not too long ago. He's from Brooklyn. Everybody out there in Brooklyn, man, what's up? New York. We in the studio, man. Got my fam in the studio. Everybody's in the town. Vibe with us. We got some hotness on that Rex 84. We'll be right back with you. Vibe with swag.
The idea of us really dating, but I lost so good when you're naked. Like
skip ahead a little bit. How you living today, Political Mike? Political Mike, it's my big bro.
Hey, oh man, just aware, doing my homework, definitely, keeping the lid off the jar and letting it overflow with the knowledge and the understanding of the things of the world that are being bestowed upon us all.
Yeah.
Definitely, brother.
No, true that. And King Ra the Great one, man, you know what I'm saying? We had a mighty powwow last week, man, on that whole flat earth situation, man. I mean, that was a deep one, man, but I appreciate you for hanging in there on the late skis.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. That was a good show. A lot of information, a lot of things to go back and study and look into.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you start unpeeling these layers, just layer by layer, and it seems crazy until you start to really kind of, look at it through a lens that hasn't been provided for you. You know what I'm saying? And, Kings to our brother Silas, he'll be joining us in about 25 minutes. We are dropping on that King Alfred's plan tonight. A lot of us are not that familiar with it, but you might want to be, That's all we got to say. A lot of this stuff going on that's getting passed while all this puppetry is going on our TV. They're doing major work behind the scenes. And one of the things that we are uncovering and looking at is called the King Alfred's Plan. And I don't want to give too much of it away, but it's definitely something that has been put into motion and looks like it might be prime time, you know what I'm saying, for these guys, Whenever we say, like Political Mike, whenever we say, all right, we see people protesting and marching, but what's the next step? What's the next step? Are they going to start rioting and all that? But
let's get ahead a little bit.
Including the brain.
And this is something that was implemented by...
Love to Silas Nehemiah, man. This King, man, held down the radio show platform, superb, man. So, a lot of people know me kind of just in YouTube with this and that, but, man, you know what I'm saying, this is where we at right here. This is something independent, something separate on our own platform, and this is what we're talking about. So, my hope is that, many folks, continue to rock with us and surf the wave wherever we are, and rock with us as we make these steps and leaps and transitions. Love to Silas Nehemiah.
One of our presidents, and this is like based. This number here is based off like around the year 2002, where the I think the population was approximately 6.35 billion people on the planet, and 5.2 billion of those people were people of color. And of course, in one of the less developed countries. We're not talking about, England and, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. We're talking about like Africa, India, the West Indies, the islands, South America, where people of color are located, and in parts of Asia as well. The global program, the Global 2000 program goes on to state, and I quote, water will be polluted in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and North Africa to destroy the coastal fisheries. And this is the desertification unit. So this is like some real cunning stuff. This is like low level.
Crazy. It sounds crazy.
Behind your back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead, bro. What?
Oh, no, that was me. I was just confirming what you were saying. I mean, This sounds crazy. And please, you can also get some good information on the site, angelfire.com. You know what I'm saying? You can, check a lot of this out for yourself. This is, going back to what the brother was saying, this is, right from the beginning, it says, blacks to be exterminated, Auschwitz style. That. So I guess they're trying to compare this to the Jewish stuff. But look, we've been exterminated black style, transatlantic slave, Arab slave style, 200 million death style. You know, not some other, you know, so-called Holocaust. I'm not clowning on that. I'm just saying, like, come on.
And again, when I say transatlantic slave, I didn't say that the slave trade and all that shit never happened. I just said that they took us from here. And they exterminated us here and then took some of us over there, not in the hundreds of millions. They slaughtered us in the hundreds of millions. But they took us in the hundreds and thousands all over the place. But we are still here where they found us.
You know what I'm saying? This is major work what they've done to us.
Let me get to some of this meat.
Hey, brothers and sisters out there listening, y'all gotta wake up.
Wake up.
I'm talking to all the ages too. I'm talking to all the people.
Wake up.
Hey, we all rock together and we fall together. You know what I'm saying? If they don't know by now, you know, when it comes to this situation, it's all or nothing. Don't think that you just, the only reason that they're comfortable with you is if you are also fully asleep and you rock with the Holy Roman Empire. I can just say that now because Time Magazine is claiming that this is the new Roman Empire. I'm just going to call this the Roman Empire. Nice and plain, just like they do. And right quick, before we get to, you know what I'm saying, you know, start to, you know, really tie it in, you know, I just want to drop this right quick. This is off of a site called asadashakor.org. asadashakor.org. And you already know what I'm talking about. This is a memo from the National Security Council, from the chairman of the National Security Council. And I'm just going to kick it. Even before 1954, when the Supreme Court of the United States of America declared unconstitutional separate educational and recreational facilities, racial unrest and discord had become very nearly a part of American way of life, but that way of life was repugnant to most Americans. Since 1954, however, that unrest and discord have broken out into widespread violence, which increasingly have placed the peace and stability of the nation in dire jeopardy. So this is somebody that's worried about the peace and stability of their nation, not yours. This kingdom has this violence has resulted in the loss of life, limb, and property, and has cost the taxpayers of this nation billions of dollars. The end is not yet in sight. This same violence has raised the tremendously grave question as to whether the races can ever live in peace with each other. Each passing month has brought new intelligence that despite new laws passed to alleviate the condition of the minority still is not satisfied. Demonstrations and rioting have become a part of the familiar scene. Troops have been called out in city after city across the land, and our image as a world leader severely damaged. Our enemies press closer, seeking the advantage possibly at a time during one of these outbreaks of violence. The minority has adopted an almost military posture. Sidebar, Black Panther Party. The minority has adopted an almost military posture to gain its objective, which are not clear to most Americans. It is expected, therefore, that when those objectives are denied the minority, racial war must be considered inevitable. When the emergency comes, we must expect the minority threat to the whole of the American society and indeed the free world. And that's from the chairman of the National Security Council.
Bang.
Now, let me continue right quick. From the Department of Interior. Under King Alfred, the nation has been divided into 10 regions. In case of emergency, minority members will be evacuated from the cities by federalized National Guard units, local and state police, and, if necessary, by units of the regular armed forces using public and military transportation and detained in nearby military installations until a further course of action has been decided. They got 10 regions.
Another site I saw, 11 regions. So they got all regions from, Capital Region, Northeast, Southeast, Great Lakes, Central or South Central Region, Deep South 1, Deep South 2, Great Plains, Rocky Mountain Region, Southwest Region, West Coast Region. No attempt will be made to seal off the Canadian and Mexican borders. In other words, when they say one world, they're opening up all borders. They're like, screw the borders. We're just one. We're just one world. They even got like a weird type of tree of life or seed of life logo that they want to use as the new American flag. Not American flag, excuse me, the Earth flag. So it's not any more America, any more Japan. It's just the Earth flag, okay? And that's from the Department of Interior. Now, from 849 AD to 899, the King of England, who slaughtered thousands under the guise of protecting the European religion of Christianity. As a result, he was revered as one of the most noble kings in the history of England. Now you understand what this King Alfred is held so high. He slaughtered everybody through this religion that came out of our stone, our tablets. They abstracted it, formed a religion out of it. They say worship Christ. Do this with Christ. Christ. You know what I'm saying? We rock with our Creator. You know what I'm saying? But through them, they created a Greek abstract of our Mashiach, of our Messiah. Instead of being the anointed of us, of the Hebrews, you know what I'm saying, of the Israelites, it was the anointed of the Greeks. And that's where Christ is a Greek word. Last part I'll get before we get back to Brother Silas. The Department of Justice. This is a memo from them, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Central Intelligence Agency. There are 12 major minority organizations, and all are familiar to the 22 million. So at this time in the 60s or early 60s, they were focusing on just 12 minority organizations that are familiar to the 22 million of us that they plan on rounding up. That's in the 60s. So let's fast forward 40-something years, 50 years. Now you think that's over hundreds of millions by now. And they've definitely amped up to include Latinos, a lot of other folks in this as well. Dossiers have been compiled on the leaders of the organizations and can be studied in Washington. The material contained in many of the dossiers and our threat to reveal that material has considerably held in check some of the leaders who do not have such usable material in their dossier have been approached to take government posts, mostly as ambassadors and primarily in African countries. The promise of these positions also has materially contributed to a temporary slowdown of minority activities, because we got these fake leaders that they set up themselves. They've sort of pacified us. They slowed us down from going crazy, right? However, we do not expect these slowdowns to be of long duration, so they know it ain't gonna last, because there are always new and dissident elements joining these organizations with the potential power to replace the old leaders. All organizations and their leaders are under constant 24-hour surveillance. Okay? This Big Brother thing, who they watching? They watching you. They're not just watching Americans. Americans, Big Brother. They watching your ass. I gotta keep it real with you. They looking at you. All right. These organizations are, number one, the Black Muslim.
Welcome to
Malcolm X. All that was popping right around this time that this was written. So you got to now sort of interject Hebrew Israelites. You know what I'm saying? The new Black Panthers. You know what I'm saying? All these militant organizations that they're gonna, try to connect with ISIS. They're going to try to connect them with everything. All these refugees coming in here. Obama has announced over 100,000 before this year ends. 100,000 of unvetted people coming from Syria, quote unquote, into your California, New York, Chicago, and many other communities this year. And they're going to link them with these organizations. I'm guaranteed. Somehow.
Oh, yeah. You know they will.
Yeah, they will. So the Black Muslims. Number 2 is the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Number 3, Congress of Racial Equality. Number 4, the Uruhu Movement. Number 5, the Group on Advanced Leadership. Number 6, the Freedom Now Party, FNP. Number 7, the United Black Nationalists of America. Number 8, the New Pan-African Movement. Number 9, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC. That's Martin Luther King.
Oh, they got
No doubt.
Nick.
Number 10, the National Urban League. Number 11, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, even if it was founded by Jewish folk. Okay? White Jewish folk. Number 12, the Committee on Racial and Religious Progress. What do all these people have in common? They black, and they down with the cause. Okay? Note, at the appropriate time to be designated by the president, the leaders of some of these organizations are to be detained only when it's clear that they cannot prevent the emergency, meaning only when they can't use them against you no more. Only when they can't fake leaders no more will they now detain those same people, those Al Sharptons, those Jesse Jacksons. They're going to detain them once they lose the power over the community. Working with local public officials during the first critical hours. All other leaders are to be detained at once. Compiled list of minority leaders have been readied at the National Data Computer Center. It is necessary to use the minority leaders designated by the president, so Al Sharpton and all of them designated by the president, in much the same manner in which we use minority members who are agents with the central and federal, and we cannot, until there is no alternative, reveal King Alfred in all his aspects. So if I got hired today by the CIA or FBI, they would use me in the neighborhood as, you know what I'm saying, COINTELPRO. You know what I'm saying? They'll use